Hello and welcome back to the Matchday Roundup. We have match week 9 coming up for you. We have the Western Sydney Wanderers versus St George, and we have Hills United versus Newcastle Jets. Now, on this episode, I've changed up a bit of the format for the Matchday Roundup. So, in the previous Matchday Roundups, I would do a scripted reading where I would write about 250 to 300 words per match and read that out. And I think I want to just test out this sort of new idea I've had where I've done dot points for the match instead of a script. And I just want to see if I like it and if you guys like it. So please send in your feedback. I want to see if you guys think this sticks more than the old format. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. In the St George versus Western Sydney Wanderers reserve grade game, St George immediately had pressure when a Jake Vidakovic corner met Ruby McLean, which snuck between the Wanderers defense of Taylor and Reyes, which sent them 1-0 up early on. And after this goal, pressure continued for St George. They kept on having chance after chance. However, were not able to double their lead early on. As the Wanderers eased into this game, they could not convert their chances. However, they were getting into promising positions, which meant that they still had hope throughout this game. St George would continue to show promise in attack themselves. However, the Wanderers, despite an early blunder by Jackson Taylor, did seem defensively capable. The Wanderers continued to attack for the rest of the first half. However, these chances were not able to be converted. They would miss chances or just have them, not land their way. And by the end of the first half, the match was only 1-0 to St George. And in the second half, to be honest, the Wanderers looked a lot better. There was immediate pressure from kickoff, but the Wanderers just weren't able to convert their chances. They had multiple corners, but none of them were being finished properly. They just weren't in the right positioning, and it just wasn't happening for them. There was a high sideline later on in the game from St George, which sparked a counter, but the Wanderers kept on losing their sort of position because it broke down because of a foul. And then towards the end of the game, the Wanderers having a majority of the chances in the second half, but it just wasn't their day when St George snuck a ball through the Wanderers' defense against the run of play, with Jake Vidakovic doubling St George's lead. As the full-time whistle blew, St George beat the Wanderers 2-0, and the Wanderers looked disappointed as they showed a lot of promise yet could not convert any of their chances. In the St George versus Western Sydney Wanderers Premier League game, St George showed strength immediately in attack in the first minutes. However, the Wanderers countered from said pressure, which spurred a corner, and this corner saw Webb assist Waite, sending the Wanderers 1-0 up, despite the immediate pressure from St George. Not long after they went 1-0 down, the St George side continued to pressure and had a corner minutes later. Albert and Karim linked up well to get an equalising goal. Despite St George's pressure, they were not able to convert chances after equalising. Wanderers, on the other hand, were able to, as Waite dispossessed the ball in the 13th minute, and he dribbled through the St George defence to get a solo goal, setting the Wanderers 2-1 up. However, this lead would not last long as Mitch Albert met Brandon Stroud in open play. The latter's strike, equalising the game once again for St George. The action was not over for the first half, when the Western Sydney Wanderers won a penalty after contact from Karim. Steve Webb went up for the penalty, however, Karim saved it to keep his team level. Despite strong passing between Albert and Karim towards the end of the first half, the Wanderers' defence was able to stay strong, as the first half ended 2-2. In the opening minutes of the second half, there was a strong string of passes showcased by St George, which saw them win a corner, and the resulting corner saw Karim assist Vidakovic to sneak past the Wanderers' defence for a third time with a tidy goal. The Wanderers' pressure was dealt well with by St George in the minutes following the goal, as St George probed to get a fourth. However, the Wanderers stayed strong. Waite picked up a loose ball minutes later from the St George defence in an attack for themselves, as Waite dribbled through, equalising the game once again as Waite got his hat-trick goal. With minutes to spare, Wanderers continued to attack, looking to get a goal. However, the St George defence remained strong and ensured that no goal would be scored by either side. As the full-time whistle blew 3-3, both sides looked disappointed that they could not get a winner. In the reserve grade game between Hills United and the Newcastle Jets, the Hills had a lot against them as they only fielded 3 players for this match. Strong Newcastle pressure in the opening 10 minutes would not question the Hills' defence, however, as they remained strong despite these threats. The minimal chances that the Hills were getting in the opening minutes were saved well by the Newcastle defence. As the minutes tick on, a chance almost goes in, created by Anne Lazare, which was set up for Greenwood. However, this miss would keep the Hills in the game. as Hills hold on despite the pressure given by the Jets the first half and a 0-0. As the second half began, pressure continued for Newcastle Jets. However, they were unable to convert yet again. Hills applied pressure less frequently but still showed promise as they eased into the second half, looking better off than they did in the first. A direct free kick in the dying minutes for Hills was saved well by Newcastle to keep them in the game, despite their man advantage. As Newcastle failed to convert for themselves in the dying minutes after that chance, the full-time whistle blew, as Hills United drew Newcastle Jets 0-0. In the Premier League game between Hills United and Newcastle Jets, both sides showed promise in the opening minutes in attack. Hills continued throughout the opening half of the game to show promise. However, Newcastle matched this pressure. As the minutes went on, however, neither side were able to capitalise. The Hills defence proved strong as a free kick was saved by the Hills from Newcastle. As the halftime whistle blew, it was 0-0 and neither side was able to capitalise on the chances they both had, until the second half began. A free kick for Newcastle within 5 minutes of the second half opening sees Seck meet Anlazar, the latter sending the Jets 1-0 up with a tidy finish. 3 minutes after this goal, the same duo collided, Seck meeting Anlazar from a sideline to set up a 2-0 lead. Not long after that second goal was scored, Hills goalkeeper Matt Mallows gave away a penalty, which Ryan Seck converted duly to go 3-0 up within a short time frame. Newcastle continued to probe, however seemed unable to get a fourth. That is, until Anlazar poached off a Hills goal kick in the dying seconds of the game to get his hat-trick to send his team 4-0 up. At full time, Hills United lost to the Newcastle Jets 4-0. I spoke to Ryan, who got himself 1 goal and 2 assists in this game. Here's the clip.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm 16 and I play for Newcastle Jets.
So Ryan, what are your initial thoughts after the match?
Yeah, it was a pretty good game. It took a little bit to get going, but we got there eventually.
Why do you think the Hills took so long to break down, as you said?
We just came back from a 4-week break, so yeah, we've been a little bit rusty, so it took a half to get back into it, but
yeah,
glad we got there.
Even the game I was playing, there wasn't a lot of sharpness in that, especially with me. I didn't play great, but yeah, I get you absolutely. And then you scored a pretty cool penalty, right? Let's be honest.
Yeah, thank you.
What would you say the art is to a penalty as good as that one?
It's just a lot of practice. During the breaks, we had a few sessions for training, and I spent a whole lot of time practicing the penalties, fortunately, so I knew what I was doing.
Went well for you. Yeah, it did well. Now, the last question, I don't know if you've listened to this or anything, but I want you to make a prediction. Can be for you or for Newcastle as a whole, doesn't matter. That'll happen by the end of the season. So, Ryan, what's going to happen?
I'm predicting Dimitri's prediction is going to be correct.
Okay. That, for those who don't know, he predicted for Shannon to get 10 goal contributions in both competitions. So, yeah. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All good. You're done. That's it.
We did it!
See? I told you it wouldn't take forever. Can I have the microphone back? Ryan, I need the microphone back.
Alright, so I kind of just wanted to go over the table and statistics like I've started doing at the end of these episodes now. So we're going to start with the reserve grade. We currently have a change in leaders in the reserve grade as Football St George now lead the competition with 5 wins, 1 draw and 1 loss, sitting on 16 points. Newcastle Jets sit 1 point behind them, having 4 wins and 3 draws with 0 losses, sitting on 15 points. The Wanderers, after that loss, are lagging behind, sitting in 3rd with 3 wins, a draw and 4 losses. They sit on 10 points. Hills United sit in 4th with 5 points. That's 1 win, 2 draws and 4 losses. Sydney FC sit bottom of the comp currently with 1 win, 1 draw, 5 losses and 4 points. Moving on to the statistics now. And Shannon Anlazar remains the top goal scorer in reserve grade. However, Ruby McLean's goal for St George sees her tied for 2nd at the moment with Lachlan Ninham, Patrick Nolan and yours truly, Jackson Taylor. Moving on to the assists now, we have Shannon Anlazar remaining the only person to lead the assist chart with 4. Mitch Albert remains in 2nd with 2. And there is a plethora of players sitting with 1 assist. Those being Fletcher Ball, Riley Brown, Rameth Harris, Ibrahim Khan, Patrick Nolan, Jonathan Reyes, George Chong, and Jake Vidakovic. Moving on to the clean sheets now, and I still have the most clean sheets with 3. Moving on to the Premier League now, and in first place, to no one's shock, is Newcastle Jets, who sit on 19 points with 6 wins, 1 draw, and 0 losses this season. They are yet to concede a goal, scoring 22 so far this campaign. Football St George sits second. They have 3 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses. They sit on 11 points. In third place is Hills United. They have 2 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses, sitting on 7 points. They have an almost identical record to 4th and 5th as Sydney FC and the Western Sydney Wanderers both have 2 wins and 1 draw, whilst the Wanderers have 1 more loss due to their extra game they've played. The only thing separating Hills United, Sydney FC and the Western Sydney Wanderers is their goal difference, as Hills United have a -5 goal difference, and so does Sydney FC. However, Hills United's goals scored sees them edge out against the Sydney side. The Western Sydney Wanderers, due to their 2 results against Newcastle Jets, have a -14 goal difference, which would be very difficult for them to overturn. Moving on to the statistics, and due to his hat-trick, Andy Waite now sits in second for the Golden Guard, as him and former Wanderer Jordan Crane sit on 5 apiece. Chris Haster still leads this competition with 8 of his own. Ryan Seck currently has the most assists in this competition, having 7, while second place is taken by St George's Mitch Albert with 6, and a tie for third place with Newcastle's Dimitri Leolio-Davis and Steve Webb of the Western Sydney Wanderers, both on 4. For clean sheets, it's looking like Newcastle's Dimitri Leolio-Davis are going to win this competition, while second place Harry Simmons of Sydney FC sits on 3. In third place is Abdullah Karim with 2 clean sheets of Football St George. You can get involved in power chair football here in New South Wales as an athlete, coach, referee or volunteer by visiting the NSW PFA website linked below. Our season takes place in Glenwood at the Valentine Sports Park from the 24th of February 2024 to the 6th of July 2024 every Saturday. Contact info@nswpfa.org.au for more information. Just a quick note that the views of this podcast are mine and mine alone. The opinions and thoughts expressed do not necessarily reflect those of the NSW PFA. If you want to get in touch with the podcast, you can follow us at Powered by Football Pod on Instagram, join our Facebook group, Powered by Football Podcast, or follow our Twitter account, Powered by Pod. Thanks for listening.